Most retirees are asking the wrong Social Security question. They ask, what age gives me the most money? But the better question is, what happens if I live longer than my plan expected? Because one of the biggest retirement risks is not dying early, it's living long enough for the weak points in your retirement plan to show up. That risk is called longevity risk. It means living longer than your retirement plan was designed to support. And it matters because retirement planning is not just about getting to retirement, it's about staying retired. I'm Jacob Euler, co-owner of Grand Summit Wealth Management. I work with high-income individuals, families, and business owners, and I've helped over 100 clients transition into retirement by coordinating income, Social Security, taxes, and long-term planning decisions. This channel is called 1% Wealth Secrets because wealth planning is rarely about one decision. It's about understanding how decisions interact over time. And longevity is one of those assumptions that affects almost everything. Most of us know someone who had to work longer than planned because the numbers for their retirement didn't line up. Or they were retired already, and all of a sudden, you stop seeing them out on the golf course and you start seeing them back in the old office. Here's the mistake. A lot of people hear life expectancy and treat it like a planning deadline. If life expectancy is around the mid-80s, then subconsciously you build your plan around the idea that that's how long that plan needs to last for you. But life expectancy isn't an expiration date, it's an average. According to the Social Security Administration's life table, a 65-year-old man has an average remaining life expectancy of a little over 18 years. A 65-year-old woman has a remaining life expectancy of a little over 20 years. So from age 65, the average lands roughly in the 80s. But that is not the full planning problem because many people live beyond the average. Using the same table, roughly 1 in 4 men live at least to age 90, and almost 1 in 3 women live into their 90s. And that's a great thing to celebrate. I hope everyone watching lives a long, healthy life. But that means your plan needs to last beyond the average, and for married couples, that becomes even more important. The question is not just, how long will I live? The question is now, how long does the plan need to be to support at least one of us? If one spouse lives into their 90s, the plan may need to support 25 or 30 years of retirement income, and for some households, even longer. And that's a long time. I mean, if you're going to live into your 90s, that's a third of your life. That's a long time to be relying on portfolio and retirement income to be able to make sure that you don't run out of money while you're still living. And that's why averages can be dangerous. A plan that works to age 85 can look completely fine on paper, but if the money needs to last to age 95, the plan is solving a completely different problem with a different timeline. Now connect that to Social Security. Most people think of Social Security as a monthly check, but inside a retirement income plan, Social Security also functions as longevity protection. Because Social Security is designed to continue for life, it receives cost of living adjustments, and it's not directly dependent on stock market performance. That combination matters more the longer retirement lasts. In the first few years of retirement, a portfolio may feel like the main income driving engine. But 20 to 25 years later, guaranteed income can become much more valuable because there's fewer ways to fix a plan that's reliant on a market portfolio that's been under stress year after year after year for decades. And that's why the break-even conversation can be misleading. The break-even line of thought asks, at what age would delaying Social Security produce more total dollars than claiming early? And that's not a useless question, but it's an incomplete question. Because Social Security isn't just about total lifetime dollars, it's about what risk you're trying to reduce. If you claim earlier, you receive income sooner. That can reduce portfolio withdrawals early in retirement. And that may help if you're worried about sequence of return risk, especially if the markets are poor early in the first few years right when you retire. And if you want to learn more about sequence of return risk, click the card over my shoulder to watch the last video we made that covers that exact topic. But on the other hand, if you delay Social Security payments, you may receive a larger monthly benefit later. And that can reduce pressure on your portfolios when you're in your 80s or 90s, and that may help if you're worried about living a long life and needing income for decades, not years. So the real question isn't, is taking the benefit early or delaying better? It's really, which risk matters more in your financial plan? Early retirement has sequence of return risk. Later retirement has longevity risk. And Social Security sits in the middle because the claiming decision can shift pressure from one part of the plan to the other. Here's a simple way to think about it. Claiming early may reduce pressure on the portfolio now, but it can leave you with a smaller guaranteed income stream later. Delaying may strengthen guaranteed income later, but it may require the portfolio to do more work up front. Neither of those options is automatically right, but both options change the risk profile of your retirement plan, and that's going to matter on your specific situation. That right there becomes the planning point. You're not just picking a start date. You're deciding how much of your income responsibility belongs on Social Security and how much of it belongs to your portfolio. Let's look at an example similar to households I see all the time. Assume a household retires at 65 and wants $160,000 a year in retirement income. They have a robust portfolio and they also expect Social Security benefits. If they claim earlier, Social Security can immediately cover part of their income needs. And that means the portfolio may not need to carry such a full burden from day one. But the trade-off is the Social Security check is smaller for life. If the household lives into their 90s, they may spend 20 or more years receiving that reduced benefit. But if they delay, the portfolio may need to cover more income at the beginning. That can create more early pressure, but later, the larger Social Security benefit can reduce how much income the portfolio needs to provide on a yearly basis. And this is why Social Security should be evaluated as part of an income system, not as a standalone calculation answer, but part of a broader plan. Now, one of the most common mistakes I see is assuming that high income or high net worth households can just completely ignore this. They think Social Security will not be a big part of my retirement income, so it really doesn't matter that much. But that misses the role it plays. For many affluent households, Social Security is not the main source of income, it's acting as a stabilizer. It's a piece of lifetime inflation-adjusted income that can reduce how much your portfolio needs to provide later. And the longer someone lives, the more valuable that kind of income can become. Not because it replaces the portfolio, but because it can reduce dependency on the portfolio at the exact stage when it's already been being relied on for decades. And in a nutshell, that's what longevity risk is. It's not just what if I live a long time. It's what if I live a long time and my portfolio, spending, inflation, taxes, can't stand up to the income plan that you built originally because you've outlived its expectancy. And this is why planning to the average can create a false sense of security. A plan that survives to the average expectancy may be very fragile if one spouse lives longer. And for married couples, this connects directly into the next risk, which is going to be survivor risk. Because when one spouse passes away, the household generally does not keep both Social Security checks. They keep the higher of the two benefits. So the Social Security decision is not just about your own life expectancy, it may also affect the income available to the surviving spouse. And that's why a claiming decision can look good for the couple while both spouses are alive, but it still creates problems later for the survivor. And that's exactly what we're going to discuss in our next video. Because longevity risk questions, what if retirement lasts longer than expected? While survivor risk raises the question, what happens when only one spouse is left? Those two risks are connected. If one spouse lives a long life after the other passes, the Social Security decision made today can affect that survivor for years or even decades. So the mistake is not claiming early and the mistake is not delaying. It's making the decision without knowing what risk you're actually trying to manage. So how do you solve this? The better approach is to ask better questions. How long does the plan need to last? What happens if one spouse reaches 90 or 95 or even 100? How much pressure can the portfolio handle early? How much guaranteed income do we want later? And how would this decision affect the surviving spouse? Those questions lead to a much better Social Security conversation than simply asking about a break-even age. So if you're approaching retirement and your plan is mostly built around average life expectancy, it may be worth taking another look. Because retirement doesn't happen in averages, it happens in outcomes. If you want help evaluating how Social Security fits into a broader retirement income and longevity strategy, you can schedule an optional financial consultation using the link below in the description. There's no obligation, it's simply a conversation to determine whether coordination would add value to your situation. In the next video, we're going to talk about survivor risk. What happens to retirement income when one spouse passes away? And how do you handle when one Social Security check disappears, but your expenses have not fallen by half? And why many retirement plans unintentionally become weaker at that first death. So thanks for sticking to the end. Make sure to send this video to anyone that you think it can help before they make a decision that they can't undo, and we'll see you in the next one.